Okay, we are live. Ready or not, here we are.
We're live. Hey,
We
everyone.
we are here. We are on Facebook. We're in all the places. We are
All the places.
we are multimedia right now.
We're streaming.
We are streaming. Yeah. You know, the Willy Wonka back in the day with the TV mic and his little pixels would go overhead. That's us right now.
Yeah.
That's us right now. So, yeah, we're going to talk building customer loyalty, Tanya.
It's a very important topic, right? I mean, customer loyalty is everything when it comes to really expanding and building your business. Because at the end
Yeah,
of the day,
yeah.
we talked about this last time that it's more expensive to go find new clients and customers than it is to keep your current ones.
Exactly. I mean, if you have such a churn rate with customers, I mean, it's they talk about that. We talk about that on an internal team, the cost of turnover, but it's even more costly if it's customers because look at the sales cycle, look at the marketing cycle, look how long it takes to finally to take a cold lead and turn it into a raving fan and customer. There's a lot that has to go on, and if you have to do that for all your customers and you don't get to keep any of them, that's a problem.
It's a problem. Well, let's talk about it. I mean, let's talk
Yeah.
about how do you even build customer loyalty? I know there's a lot of people out there listening. They're like, well, I don't even have any customers yet, right? This is something good to know from the beginning stages and obviously all the way through as you're scaling your company. To build customer loyalty, it's really essential to really understand their needs, right? And that's the first step, right? I mean, think about in our course in our program, we're helping people navigate through their office, right? But also really who their audience is, right? And that really dream customer. So first, it's really understanding that. I mean, that's the first step. You have to know their needs and what's needed, right? Because at the end of the day, we want to be giving them something that they don't need or don't want, And
Right.
when we're delivering something, whether it's like the products or their services, we have to really cater to the requirements and needs that they're looking for, right? Because if we're delivering something that doesn't work for the way that they receive things, it's not going to work in the end.
Yeah, it's so true. Like, I always say, like, because we do, a ton of coaching. There's no better feeling, I feel like, for our clients when what I call they get got. It's like when somebody
Yeah.
gets you and they really get you and they really kind of, you're like, you get me, you understand me. Like, there's a feeling around that. And we all know that customers buy on emotion. We all do it. We buy on
Yes.
emotion. So if I feel like, I'm your customer and you not only get me, but you cater to me. Like if you have like a favorite restaurant or a favorite barista and they're like, hey, Tanya, good to see you. You're going to have your usual day. There's a
Yes.
feeling around that. Like,
There is. Well, that's part of customer service, right? And I think that this is a very important skill set, and it's a skill set that you definitely acquire and learn over time. That's really, really important, right? And that is part of building the customer loyalty, right? Because when customers feel, like you were saying, that they feel heard, they feel understood, they feel valued, right? As a customer, they're more likely to really refer people to
yeah.
become, your most loyal client, and really be loyal to your brand, right? Not just to you and what you're offering, but to get that buy in to your brand and your culture and your values and what your company is about.
Yeah. You and I are in the Carolinas, we're in the South, and we know
Down.
Chick-fil-A is big on that.
Oh, there's so much brand loyalty. I personally don't get it. I don't really like Chick-fil-A. Everyone's probably out there like, what? But I mean, listen, they do have good customers. I'm not gonna lie, I've gone through a drive-through, and the way that they train their people, it's very good.
It
Every
is.
step of the way, you get a smiling face. Usually, they're young kids, and they're getting your order in, and everything is very systematic. So of course, they have their stuff down, and there is a brand loyalty to that for sure.
Yeah, and that's what I think you mentioned it. Like there are people who feel like the company's values match their own. Their style of customer service matches the way that they want to be taken care of. And when all that lines up, you form almost a relationship. Because in the end, I always say that like if you want to be good at business, you got to be good at dealing with humans because business is a human endeavor. And I think that's what you're talking about when you talk about like building that, understanding their needs and like really relating to them on a human level. And because in the end, the even in the most professional environment, even in a corporate environment, it's still human to human. It just
Oh,
is, and so you have to remember that. So I think keeping in mind that people make purchases on an emotional level. They operate out of emotion. Like I always say, like emotion, it's energy in motion. And so whatever energy you create around the relationship kind of drives what they feel when they hear your brand name. What do they feel? It's not just what do they think, but it's what do they feel? It's how you make them feel. So I think you said it, when you said like really understanding what they need, really getting them, understanding customer needs and communicating it back that I get you without saying it that way. But it's like, I recognize this about who you are and I'm here to help with this and so on and so forth. So
and it's meeting them where they're at, right? So when we talk about, obviously understanding your client's needs, it's also important, I think about our onboarding, right? To really understand a client and the way that they tick and the way they communicate too. Like we have a specific client, they're like, Slack, oh my gosh, no Slack. Right. Well, of course, I wasn't going to force saying, well, you got to get on Slack. Then they're going to be unhappy in that environment. They like email. That's fine. Right. We're going to meet them where they're at. I know that sounds so silly and it's something so little, but it's those little things that make a big difference. Right. Yeah. And so it's great. Like we've gotten to the point where now we know our client, we understand their needs, right? We're working on our customer service. We're meeting them where they're at, but now we have to deliver. Right. Because we can have all those things, but if we're not delivering in a timely manner, but we're also not delivering consistent quality, work, no matter what, anybody who's listening out there, what you do, right? Whether it's a product or a service, then that is going to definitely break the customer loyalty because loyalty equals the trust too, right? So they have to really trust your work. You can get a good in that honeymoon phase in the beginning. It's like, yay, we all love each other. We got connected. It's great. But now it's time to show up, right? So I think that the quality of your product and the services is another key building part of customer loyalty, and when customers trust that you're offering them high quality for what they're paying, and they can feel like that you're over delivering, right? And you're always going above and beyond. That is going to just up that loyalty too.
I think that's such a good point, but there's a nuance to what you're saying, like the consistency of the quality and building the trust that they can count on you. I know I saw Natasha's comment. What'd she say? She's like,
we're married, Tasha. We're married.
Yeah, drop the comments. Come live with us. So but here's the other thing, like, talking about consistent quality and building the trust. One of the things I learned, like working for the Disney company, was some of our most loyal fans came out of a service delivery failure where something didn't go right. And we were masters, they are masters at turning a failure on a service delivery into a win. So for example, family comes to the ride, one of the members of the family is really not safe. They're not tall enough, safe to ride. And all of our guest services people were trained on what to do in any situation and the order in which to do it. SOPs, right? SOPs for guest services. And they knew exactly what to do. And they would turn that into a magical experience. They would walk them backstage behind the scenes and say, we're going to take you to a ride that you can ride. And they would put them at the front of the line. They would radio ahead to the cast member over there to say, Tanya and her family are coming. They have a member who was too short to ride. They're very upset. Please take good care of them. And they would take you right to the front of the line. They would address the person, the little guy in the group and say, we've been waiting for you, and they would treat him like a VIP, treat the family like a VIP. And they would leave after we failed to deliver. They would leave raving. So, I mean, this is how you build the trust. Like with us, like you were talking about, we meet people where they are. Like, okay, you don't want to be in Slack, you want to do emails or whatever it is. That's great. We meet them where they are. And if something breaks, something doesn't go right, our clients know we will bend over backwards to fix it, to make it work. And that builds even more trust, because trust really gets built when the chips are down and they know that, like,
too, though, like, look, nobody's perfect. We're not perfect. We have messed up so many times in the past, but guess what? That's why we are where we are today and why we're so good at what we do, because we have learned and created those processes and created, everything along the way from mistakes, right?
Yeah.
But owning up to it and actually being very open to realizing it and knowing that this is just going to fail us forward. Any things that happen, we're going to make it better and just continue to improve our customer service, our programs, etc. It's super important,
Yeah, and we're not afraid of that feedback. We want the feedback because that's how we, because that's the thing. What you really want to do is you want to really, yeah, you want to get your clients. You want to really get them. You want to really understand. And so we can't climb into their minds and know. So we want that feedback, and it does help us get better for sure.
So that's something else. If you're looking to build customer loyalty, you cannot be afraid of the feedback, right? And how many of you out there that are watching actually on a monthly basis are getting feedback from your clients, right? Like, or sending out a survey, or asking them, or doing check-ins, etc. I'd love to know in the comments, because it's actually just really important, right? We are constantly delivering, and you get in this cadence with your clients, right? In these meetings where you're delivering. And even if you're giving them data or analytics for whatever you do, it's really, you have to measure for yourself too, right? Like, how many of my clients are happy? What's working? What's not working? What can we adjust? And if you're not doing that, it's your customer loyalty will fall through the cracks.
So Natasha says, did you hear about the guy who made the Guinness World Record for going to Disneyland consecutively 2009?
Oh my gosh. No.
First of all, I want that person's life. And well, I really don't. I'd be sick of it. But you talk about loyal, like brand loyalty. And all of us, if we were to poll, 1,000 people and say, when you think of brand loyalty, what brand do you think of? Every single person will have a brand. Every single person will know who that is. And I think that he stopped because the Disneyland closed down for the pandemic. So that's the only thing that interrupted. Yeah, that's brand loyalty for sure. And I think too, like you said it earlier, personalization, meeting clients where they are. And that sounds really hard to do. Like, oh my gosh, how am I going to customize to everybody? But it's really not that hard, especially with SOPs and tools. Now there's so much automation where you can really infuse your communications with your voice and really pinpoint your customers and what you're hearing from them. So, and listen, in the end, sometimes, dare I say it, a handwritten note, a text message, a something that's not just always business, that you really kind of get to know them on a human level, can make a lot of a difference too, I think, because then it becomes, I don't want to say it becomes personal, but it becomes more, you become more connected to that client. And it depends on the business you're in,
something else that I think that we started to do very well on, both sides of the business. Obviously we have a community on our coaching side, but even on the Think Fuel side, in our marketing, PR, and advertising company, part of what we do is we really try to build community and like cohesiveness along our clients. What do I mean by that? So for instance, on the marketing side, if we have a client that we're like, oh, you know what, I should really connect you with our other client, just so you guys can, riff, and maybe you guys can be of help. I know at first, for some people, it's probably scary to do that, because you're like, ooh, what if something doesn't go right with that relationship, But in the end of the day, it does bring more brand loyalty, right? Because we're actually giving them more resources and, perhaps something that we don't offer, right? Or can't really relate or help them with. And we're putting it in front of them, and it's still within our wheelhouse. It's still under our roof. And that can really help to foster loyalty among the customers.
See, what I love about that too, what the point you're making is, when we talk about like personalizing service or, building a community or whatever, it's a feeling of, wow, they not only, they truly care about my business. This isn't just, because one of the things we talk about, like you were saying, like we have a community on the think tank side. We also have a marketing agency. We build community there. One of the things that kind of, because it's not like a typical it's not a mastermind. These are clients. But one of the things we position ourselves as is we come along almost like a partner in your organization. We're a bolt-on department, almost like we're an extension of your team. So we are coming into your business. We're not just a service delivery organization. We're there to really holistically help grow and scale businesses through a set of services that we deliver. But to your point, when you go above and beyond and you say, hey, I met this person, or I'm connected to this person, or I've referred this person to you, or I thought of you, you need to know so-and-so, they have a great podcast, whatever it is, when we're doing things, hey, there's a TEDx event, whatever it is, when we're doing things like that, we're adding value beyond what our contracted agreement is. And that is truly coming in a partnered way. So you're building a serious relationship that looks more like a partnership than a transactional, you pay this, we deliver that. You pay this, we deliver that. That's a whole different relationship.
Yeah, no, it is. It really, really is. And here's the most difficult part about customer loyalty, right? We're talking about we want feedback, right? We're like, yeah, get that feedback. Sometimes handling a complaint or feedback, it's not easy, right? It's not. But I think it's beyond just providing training and advice. It is. And, I think that the way that we provide, but also the way that we receive, right? So the way that we give, but also the way that we receive is really, really important. So when we talk about SOPs or we talk about training, right, on how to receive this information, it's how we handle, complaints or, the negative quote unquote feedback that can impact the customer loyalty too. It's how we really show up even after somebody tells you, "Hey, I'm not really happy." Right? And
It's nerve-wracking too. It's
it
easy to get
is.
scared of that, but you
It is
can't.
so easy to shut down and be like, "I give up. That's it." My customers aren't happy. I'm sure, everyone's been in this position before, whether you're a solopreneur or you have a team, you know, um, this is, Alexa talks about it all the time, right? She's like, okay, there's certain skills that you have to master. And
Yeah.
this is one of those skills, and it's the people skill, right? Of really being able to listen and really truly listen and understand what they're feeling and what their concerns are and take it seriously and be able to resolve it very quickly, not just kind of sweep it under the rug and be like, okay, I'm just going to ignore that. That didn't happen.
Because really you got to think of it too, almost like it's not just that like it erodes maybe that customer's loyalty, but it
Yeah.
puts you at risk because people hold on to negative sometimes. They remember intense experiences or they remember disappointments, right? And they remember that. And then they may or may not be willing to recommend you now because you didn't address it. You tried to sweep it under the rug. You didn't rectify it because it is scary. But honestly, if you can flip that in your mind and reframe that to an opportunity to really deepen the relationship and say, drop the ball. Yeah, we did not deliver on time or whatever it is, that the issue that came up or the complaint you can be thankful. You can say, listen, that's going to help me develop a system that I didn't know I needed. So like, kudos to you for bringing that to me. You can turn it into that and let them know that you're trying to always improve and that's why you seek feedback. But if you're somebody who's afraid of feedback, by the way, and receiving it, people are going to hesitate to give it to you. If they feel
Yeah.
like you're not going to do anything with it, then they feel like they're just being a complainer. And I don't want my customers or clients to ever feel like negative about giving feedback. I want to create a space where they feel like giving feedback is actually part of our relationship and important to me so they don't feel awkward. Because sometimes it's hard to give negative feedback, especially if you like a brand or a vendor or supplier. It's hard to give feedback, but it's part of the kind of unspoken rules of engagement and part of the relationship, I think. So I love that you called that out.
Yeah, no, it's important, and just always going above and beyond, right? Oh, let's see what Natasha said. Working with people is the hardest part because they are so many different personalities. Yes. And you can't treat everyone the same. And it's so
Yeah.
true. And that comes down to any type of relationship building, right? Like we started a process where we were doing personality tests for a while, right?
Yeah.
In hiring. And I think it is important to understand, and the more that you deal with people and, I mean, I do a lot of the sales here, so I have a good read on people's personalities and like, you know, how to meet them without, et cetera. But it takes time. That's practice, right? You're right. Natasha, there are so many different personalities. But that's important to know for yourself too, right? Because at the end of the day, life's too short. So you
Yeah.
definitely don't want to work with anybody that you're going to clash with in the first place. So that's something, an onboarding process that you want to keep in mind, right? And really pinning out that dream avatar of a person that you want to work with and cutting them down to all the way to like what the personality is, what the industry, what their needs are, how you work together.
Yeah.
Always going above and beyond for clients and never done it before.
Oops.
But
Sorry.
would it be okay to hire a client, who you've done everything for and so not happy? Oh, this is a good one. So yeah, so let's flip the switch. Let's flip the switch before we end this and talk about it. So we've done this topic before, and this just says Facebook user, so I'm not sure who this is, but whoever
I
you are
know.
out there, the thing is, the customer is not always right. Okay. And it's often that you hear that, right? Okay, customer's always right. You do whatever you want, whatever they want, bend over backwards, etc. At the end of the day, I think it all comes down to communication and expectations. We've had this a lot with clients where we're like, geez, like what is going on? Like, their expectations are like way higher. And oh, hi, Camille.
She said
Their
that's her. She said this is her. This is her.
yeah, that's right. The expectations are way higher than, and we feel like we're just always providing, but they're never happy. So I think this sometimes can turn on us, right? And the way that we onboard them and the expectations that we set up front. Or it could be a personality thing. Judith, it could be a personality thing. It could be that it's just not a match. Maybe they perhaps are somebody who just isn't really ever happy. And you can't make everyone happy at the end of the day, guys. We cannot appeal to everybody. Everybody is not for you, but there are clients out there that are perfect for you and vice versa. So at the end of the day, it's through this experience that you're going to get very granular on the type of clients that you want to work with and the type of clients that you don't want to work with. But yes, the answer is yes, you can fire a client.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
How do you create a community that feels open to give feedback? Okay. Many people, especially people pleasers, don't want to share something that may be negative in fear or hurting someone's feelings. I mean, the easiest answer to that is setting an example of doing it yourself. I noticed that within our own team, that amongst Deb, Alexa, and I, right, we're very raw, open, and honest, like on lives, on Clubhouse, and even on our huddles with our team. We're like, yeah, messed up. Okay, what's the solution? What are we gonna do? Yeah, especially people peers. Thing is, like you're not going to be able to change anybody and make them, give feedback or make them become or be a part of the community. But that also comes down to that avatar of a person that you want to be part of your community. You want someone who's open. You want somebody who, wants to, give the feedback. Yes, and share your feelings. And also this might come down to two, Natasha, the separation between becoming overly friendly with clients versus them being a client. And, we've also had that issue before where we become so close and tight with clients that they almost become friends. Yeah. Right. And then there is that funny, weird, like gray area where you're like, gosh, I don't really want to say anything because I really love them as a person and working with them. But like, this is not working on this end. So I think that just continuously setting an example yourself and always, having obviously open communication, but also setting some of those boundaries of that very fine line between being friends and being clients.
Yeah, so good. And we do see, that's a great point because we get very invested in our clients. We get very, we get obsessed with their results and, so it matters to us and we communicate behind the scenes about it a lot. And like, we think about it a lot and we put a lot of energy into the client work. So that line can get blurry. So it's a great point. And the only other thing I would add is to answer Natasha would be to say, make it part of your communications. By the way, there's no such thing as over communicating when it comes to your branded messaging. People don't get it the first time or the second time or even the third time. Sometimes you got to repeat and say things over and over again and let people know, that this is something we value. We value feedback. We want you to respond. We want you to tell us what you think. And sometimes it's, putting out surveys and making sure that you give them a way to communicate their feedback. So I don't know. I think I might have lost Tanya. I think she froze in the world of internet. I know she's having issues with her Wi-Fi service. So perfect. It's just me. So what I would say is, in wrapping it up, building customer loyalty, one, it's worth, I hope, from what we've shared, that you see that it's worth it. This comes down to a bottom line money thing. This is for sure related to, your bottom line, because it's expensive to land a customer. It's expensive to convert a lead into a customer, a prospect into a customer. And so once you have that customer, it's worth investing in that relationship to keep that customer over time. We take a lot of pride in the fact that we keep, on both sides of our business, we keep our clients for a long time because we do develop that close relationship where we come in as partners and advisors as much as we do any kind of service delivery. So I want you to see the value in it. It's a part of the bottom line. Customer loyalty and profitability are very closely related. There's all kinds of metrics around that. And two, it's anybody that we work with has excellent and high standards, and customer loyalty is a reflection of the standard of your customer service, your ability to take feedback, your ability to deliver in a customized, personalized way, and really build deep relationships with your clients because you understand them so well. And I think that was the first point we made. I think when your customers feel like you really get them, you really understand them, and you deliver in a way that they feel that, then you get the kind of emotional investment that that builds that loyalty. Yay! I got Tanya back.
Oh
I
my
told
gosh.
the audience. I told the audience you have Wi-Fi issues where you're at. There's an
Wi-Fi
outage.
issues. Yeah, they're working on this guy's roof across the street, and I feel like something weird
You
happened.
said that earlier. I bet that's what happened.
Yeah, so I'm like hotspotting to my phone. So sorry,
Yeah.
everyone, if I'm happy.
I was just basically saying that the reason this is important is profitability and customer loyalty are closely aligned, and that if you have to spend a lot of money constantly creating new customers and you don't get to build that loyalty, there's a whole layer of revenue that disappears because you've got to replace these customers. And I was sharing how we take a lot of pride and we keep our clients for a long time because we've built that relationship, and it comes from understanding their needs first. And that's kind of where you came back in. So I think that we've demonstrated that this isn't just because you want to be a good guy and you want your customers to like you. This is good business.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's good business, and it's how you scale. Because, like you say, if you have such a large churn rate, it's just a wheel, and you're not going to be able to allocate, more resources and funds to growing a team, to giving those clients more, right, and what they deserve, et cetera. So you're just kind of you're going to stay stagnant and in the same place. So, building customer loyalty is super important. And let's just recap everything, right? I mean, the very first thing obviously is to understand who you're serving, but not just who you want to serve, but who can you serve best and who will you jive with the best too, that really dream avatar of a client that you want to work with, right? Then what's their needs, right? What are their needs? Truly knowing their needs and, meeting them where they're at and giving them what they want, but how they want to receive it. Deb, I'll let you continue summarizing.
Yeah. And that goes, what we talked about, to personalization. It's kind of meeting them where they are, working with what they bring, and then matching, back to that and helping them level up by being very personalized around what it is they need. And then we're big on community, because communities are a set of relationships. A community is built on a collection of relationships that's fostered through your network. And so when you bring somebody into your world, you're bringing them into the communities that are part of your world, and finding ways to serve your clients through the communities that you have around you is one way to add value that doesn't cost you anything. Making an introduction, doing a collaboration, building out your network, making referrals, those don't cost you anything, but they create a ton of goodwill, which I still think should be reflected on actual balance sheets, because brand goodwill, I mean, Tanya, you're in the PR game. You know that goodwill can carry the day when there's a negative story. Goodwill can carry the day when there's a service delivery failure. People will give grace to brands that they feel like have really invested in knowing them, serving them, and constantly improving on their behalf. So I think that these things build your brand and create a lot of gravitas and weight and build an asset. Brands are assets, and having a brand is the way you scale and monetize over time. Brands are worth a lot of money if they're done right.
That's right. Yeah. And that's the bottom line. It's the name of the game, right? So
don't be afraid of feedback.
Yeah, exactly. If you're out there, you're just starting out your business, you're a solopreneur, or your business is growing, just know that this is a working skill set. It's a working muscle, and building customer loyalty is super important. But really, truly knowing the kind of customers that you want to serve and obviously that you want to work with is important too. Or you will get into that line of wanting to fire all your clients too. It's like a good synergy, but
and don't you think it's true? What is that saying that, like, you can become wealthy and scale a business on 1,000 raving fans? Like, you don't need 1 million customers. You do
not
100.
Yeah. And I think, a lot of people get stuck in that mindset. Like, they just have to get more and more and more and more and more.
Right.
But it's like, let's just build up really the customer loyalty and the quality.
Yeah, because if you have 1,000, if you had an email list of 1,000 people that for the most part are interested, they're engaged, and they pay attention to what you're doing, how many people does that really represent? Because those 1,000 people each know what, 100 people. So,
Mhm.
you're talking about 100,000 potential, referrals. So
Yeah.
you don't have to worry, like you said, you don't have to worry about like, I got to get more, I got to get more, I got to get more customer. It's like, spend as much time building the loyalty with ones you have so that they become your advocate and sort of your invisible sales force that's out there doing work on
So
your behalf.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're out there just starting out, it's start with one person at a time, and you're going to be getting that feedback. You're going to be getting those good customer reviews, and you're going to put that out there, right? Then they're going to refer people, and it's just a trickle down effect from there.
Yeah.
If you're really building, your customer loyalty the right way. If
Awesome.
anybody out there listening needs any help with, building their business, if you're out there kind of like, who is my dream customer, and how do I even navigate, SOPs? What is an SOP? And if you're just sitting here kind of questioning anything that we've said, and you want help with any of that, you can reach out to, Deb, myself. You can reach out to Alexa, and you could DM us the word loyalty, and we'll know that you heard about us from this presentation today about building customer loyalty, and we're here to help you.
Yeah. And if there's any questions, leave them in the comments. We'll check back and answer. And because these were some good questions that we had today.
Very good questions.
So thanks for being here, guys. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
See you next time.
See you next week.